Last week, the Central Bank of Nigeria introduced or opened a new window of entrepreneurship scheme for young and graduate Nigerians. The new scheme aims to help in reducing youth unemployment. Let's get a whole lot more on this new development from the Director of Development Finance at the Central Bank, YILA, Yusuf. Mr. Yusuf joins me from our Abuja studios. Good evening, sir. Great to have you. After a hard day's work, we are here to put a few more questions to you. Tell me a little bit more about this new Central Bank Entrepreneurship Scheme for University and Polytechnic graduates.
Thank you very much, Boston, for having me again. This scheme is a culmination of the promise made by Governor Godwin Emefiele in July this year at the University of Lagos that the Central Bank will work with our tertiary institutions to try and unleash the potential that we see in our young graduates. So what we've done over the last 6 months is work with these institutions, to create a framework, a window, like you said, for our young graduates, those who are in school and those who have left school, to be able to access innovative financing for them to be able to unleash the potential they have and contribute to national development. The framework that was released, it has 3 components. One is the term loan, one is also the development component, and also an equity component for us to be able to invest in these businesses.
What makes this scheme or intervention unique?
What makes it unique is the fact that this is the first time that you're giving our youths, uncollateralized loans in the case of the term loan component at single-digit interest rate. You also have the fact that there's also an equity investment component. So we'll be able to invest in either startups or businesses that need financing. And also, most importantly, the last part, which is also a grant. We'll be providing grants to some of the tertiary institutions who have bankable ideas that can easily be monetized. So they'll pitch their ideas, and we'll select the top 5, and we'll give them between 250 million and 120 million for them to be able to either monetize their ideas or try and do some breakthrough research. 6 months ago, one of the universities in the country approached us and talked about the fact that they could, provide seeds, maize seeds that can do close to 8 tons per hectare. Before the Anchor Borrower program, across the country, we're doing between 2 and 3 tons per hectare for maize, but they're ready to push that envelope to 8 tons per hectare. So you can imagine the amount of output that will be cultivated across the country. So that just gives you the kind of idea that can be bankable and can be monetized and will contribute to national output.
You just touched a little bit about the process of qualifying for this funding scheme. Tell us a little bit more about it. Folks will be interested. And what rates are applicable to that side of it? I know the grant will not be, there's not interest payable, but what interest rate will apply to the others?
So we're giving it at single-digit interest rate. And if you recall, post-COVID, we're still in the regime of the 5%. So these term loans are going to be given at 5% for individuals who want to access. They can take a maximum of 5 million naira at 5%. There's 1-year moratorium for the loan and a duration of 5 years. Our graduates can also come together into a partnership. I'm already seeing a lot of that for those who've applied. And they can take up to a maximum of 25 million for 5 years, and there's a moratorium of 1 year on the principal. We've democratized the process, so all they need to do is go to the Central Bank website. They will see the link to the intervention, and then they apply, upload their certificate. We're not asking you for any collateral, just your certificate, your NYSC discharge certificate. You put in all that, and then you put in your proposal. We evaluate all that, and then if you're successful, 5 were successful that the Central Bank Governor Emefiele presented checks to late last week. We'll go through the process. We'll select those who we believe deserve these term loans, and then they're disbursed to them. It's a very simple process. Throughout the stage of the application, they'll be communicated to on the status of their applications, and when they're successful, they will get the funding through any participating financial institution of their choice.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about the mechanisms that the central bank is putting in place to ensure the success of this scheme when we come back. Stay with us, Director Yusuf. We've got a few more grounds to cover, but also, you know, we're heading towards the end of the year, so we'd like to hear a little bit more from you how much your department, Development Finance, has done so far in 2021. Of course, as we know that the central bank is focusing strongly on development finance over the last few years. What more should we expect from your office into the year 2022 in the near term? Stand by, everyone. We'll be right back into. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Talking development finance at the Central Bank of Nigeria with the head of the unit, YILA, Yusuf, under the recently unveiled 500 million entrepreneurship scheme from Varsity and Polytechnic graduates. Many thanks for standing by, Mr. Yusuf. We appreciate your time. Just that question before we went to break. What are the mechanisms by your department and the Central Bank, broadly speaking, in ensuring that this graduate business scheme actually succeed?
Okay, so there are a wide variety of mechanisms we've put in place. The first thing we've done is to try as much as possible to democratize the process. So our graduates are smart. They have access to different channels, computers they can apply. You don't need to walk into any bank, or you just apply online, upload your certificates. Your application at every stage in the process is communicated to you. We also have a very robust evaluation mechanism in place to be able to select those ideas that are bankable. In your previous report, you talked about Flutterwave. It just shows you how our youths are creative and how they can unleash their potential. So businesses around agri, creative sector, IT will be evaluated, selected, and then they'll be given varying sums of money. That's for the term loan component through any participating financial institution of their choice. Then at the end of the day, there's also a robust M&E framework in place that the central bank uses to evaluate all the interventions we give. So we'll definitely be following up with the businesses through the various channels that we have. We have development finance officers across the country. They will visit them, try as much as possible to see how they're doing. And if they have challenges, we'll try as much as possible to help them sort out those challenges. So those are the various platforms and mechanisms we have in place to ensure that these graduates not only collect these term loans, they use them for the purposes that they are meant for, and indeed they contribute to national output. For the equity component, which will be starting in April, so there's the either the quasi-equity or the equity type of intervention we'll be doing through the Bankers Committee platform. We'll invest in startups. So every year, 5% of the profit after tax of each deposit money bank is pulled into a fund. 45% of that is supposed to be given out as debt, 50% of that for the equity component. So we'll look at these businesses. 2 fund managers will be appointed. They will look at these businesses and invest up to a maximum of 2 billion for the businesses, up to a maximum of 40% of the shares of the business. And that will last for 10 years, and then they will exit from those businesses. Then I talked about the developmental component. There's a body of experts that has been appointed, led by the MD of Sterling Bank and 10 other Nigerians, both from the banking community, and also we have some representatives from NUC and other government MDAs. So they will evaluate all the proposals that our universities and the polytechnics send in, and then they will select the 5 top bankable ideas that can be monetized. And indeed, once they're selected, we'll give them these grants and follow up. These grants will not be given as bullet payments, but we'll follow progress as they monetize these ideas, so that at the end of the day, we believe that whatever ideas come out can contribute to national output. So for the 3 different subsets of the TIRE scheme, there's a robust framework in place to be able to ensure that it goes well.
The year 2021 is gradually coming to a close. So give us a bit of a rundown of your department's activities so far for 2021.
Okay, 2021 has been a very good year. So I'll start with agriculture. We've continued the flagship program of this administration, complementing the efforts of the fiscal authorities around our Anchor Borrower program. It's been very, very successful. This year, I keep talking about maize. For the first time, we have record harvest of maize. Typical consumption in Nigeria is about 12.5 million metric tons. We typically do between 9 and 10 million metric tons. But this year, we've pushed the envelope. And that is as a result of the effort of Governor Godwin Emefiele in saying, look, we will no longer give FX for the importation of maize. So a lot of our farmers have moved into cultivation of maize across the 36 states of the Federation. So you see record harvest for maize. Apart from taking loans to be able to support our smallholder farmers, we've brought in a bit of ingenuity. So we do collect this output. Instead of collecting cash, we collect this output, put it in a strategic reserve, and we use that to moderate prices, spending when the Nigerian Commodity Exchange is restructured, and we can hand that over to them. Rice is also available, paddy rice. You can see mills springing up all over the country, trying to mill a lot of all this rice, paddy rice that is available. So on the Ankobora side, on the agricultural side, good harvest. We thank God there's not been a lot of flood this year, if any. So you see record harvest, and that has contributed to output. If you look at Q3 numbers, you will see that agric, especially crop production, grew a bit. On the energy side, working with the fiscal authorities, we've continued to support the NESI, the Nigerian Electricity Supply Industry, with the wide varied interventions we have. On national mass metering, on phase 0, we set a target of 1 million meters. We've done over 890,000 meters. We provided funding for that. We've also been supporting the discourse on both the OPEX requirements, and also we've been supporting MBET on the payment assurance facility. So on the energy side, more stable power. We've brought in more capacity online. SMEs, yes, we've continued to support that with our TCF post-COVID. As of today, we've disbursed close to 360 billion to over 750,000, both SMEs and households. That has really contributed to consumption. And that, Q4 last year, the TCF was partly responsible for our exit from recession. So we'll continue to not only do the TCF, but the AXMIS. At the last MPC, you must have seen the efforts of the Monetary Authority was commended on the various interventions around the SME space. Health is also very important, as you talked about the new variant of COVID that has come out. We've disbursed over 107 billion to both hospital services, pharmaceutical industries, to try and expand their lines. MRI machines are being brought in, CT scans, 2 cancer centers that we're funding in Lagos, and we can clearly track and see exactly what they're doing. Key focus for 2022, exports just form 2% of our portfolio as at present. But recently, the governor released 100 for 100, which is really around how we can domesticate production and also look at how we can generate non-oil exports. So even though exports is just 2% of the pie, we're looking at how we can increase that in 2022 using the 100 for 100. So just to give you a roundup of some of the interventions that we've been, it's been a year where we've had to, push ourselves to the envelope, especially on the agri side. But literally, it's good news overall.
We'll bring you back in due course to give us a more robust outlook into 2022. Let's ease off things here today. Thank you so much for your time tonight on Arise Exchange. YILA Yusuf, Director, Development Finance at the Central Bank of Nigeria. Thank you so much.